Oscar De La Hoya finally revealed his pick for Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Davis, and nobody saw it coming. His shocking answer just stunned the entire boxing world, sparking instant chaos and debate everywhere.
Agreement that this fight is prime versus prime and that everybody should follow after this. Like, what other fights could follow after this one in terms of prime fighter versus prime fighter?
Well, a perfect fight that I would love to put together as well is Jaime Munguia versus Charlie. That's another fight that can.
Oscar De La Hoya said something about Garcia versus Davis that no promoter is supposed to say, and it left the boxing world completely stunned. Not because it was cruel, not because it was a betrayal, but because it was the most honest thing a promoter has said about their own fighter's biggest challenge in years. And when you hear the full context, you'll realize he's been saying it in pieces for 3 years without anyone connecting the dots. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what De La Hoya...
Ryan's gonna say shit about Gervonta. If you want to really get dirty, come talk to me. But I think both guys, look, a lot of emotion is gonna really, be flying in the air all this week in Vegas. But look, I mean, I don't wanna put down Gervonta.
If you clicked this video, you already know Oscar De La Hoya is Ryan Garcia's promoter under Golden Boy Promotions. He is supposed to be the man selling Garcia as unbeatable, the man telling the world his fighter wins every fight on every night. Most people listening to De La Hoya assume that's exactly what he does. Big talk, bold predictions, full confidence in King Rai no matter what. But here's what this channel found when it went back through 3 years of De La Hoya quotes about Garcia versus Davis, from right after the first fight in 2023, through Garcia's suspension, through the WBC title win, all the way to the present day. Oscar De La Hoya has never fully committed to Garcia winning a Davis rematch, not once. He has placed conditions on it. He has praised Davis's qualities in the same sentences where he discusses Garcia's advantages. He called Garcia a dead man walking before the first fight. To understand the weight of what De La Hoya said, you have to go back to April 22, 2023, the night Davis stopped Garcia in 7 rounds at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Garcia entered that fight at a 136-pound catch weight with a 10-pound rehydration clause, meaning he could only weigh 146 pounds on fight night. Garcia is a naturally large fighter. His body has been on record as physically unable to get below 143 pounds. He was drained, he was depleted. And Davis, one of the most dangerous body shot punchers in the sport, stopped him with a left hand to the liver in round 7. Afterwards, the boxing world debated whether the weight terms had decided the fight before the first bell rang. De La Hoya's answer shocked everyone. "I didn't negotiate that fight," De La Hoya told media. "Ryan's lawyers and advisors negotiated that rehydration clause and the purse bid. I was just like, let me stand back, let me watch them make mistakes. I felt so bad for Ryan because he was sucked up. He was a dead man walking. And then the next day, you can't weigh a certain amount. There's no chance he's going to win against Tank, who's a beast." Read that again. Garcia's own promoter said there was no chance Garcia was going to win. Before the fight was even official, before the result was in, De La Hoya had already reached that verdict. He just didn't say it until afterward. And this is where the story gets complicated. Now, most people read De La Hoya's post-fight comments as a promoter protecting himself, distancing himself from the weight negotiations to avoid blame, and that reading is partly correct. But here's the part everyone skipped over, and it changes the whole picture. De La Hoya did not just criticize the weight terms, he called Davis a beast. He said Garcia had no chance at 136 with a 10-pound rehydration clause against a fighter of Davis's level. That is not just criticism of the contract. That is a direct statement about the fight itself. For context, promoters almost never speak this way about their own fighters in defeat. The standard response is, "We'll be back. He had a bad night. The rematch will be different." De La Hoya did eventually say those things too, but he led with no chance against Tank, who's a beast. The word choice matters. Beast. Not talented, not skilled. Beast. That is the word you use for a fighter you genuinely fear, a fighter whose danger you cannot talk around. And then De La Hoya did something even more revealing. He gave a PPV projection for the rematch. Right there, days after the first fight, he said a Garcia-Davis rematch could do 4 million pay-per-view buys. For reference, only Mayweather-Pacquiao and Mayweather-McGregor have ever eclipsed 4 million domestic buys in boxing history. The first Davis-Garcia fight did 1.2 million, which was already impressive. Promoters only predict 4 million PPV buys when they believe both fighters are genuine stars who the public will pay to see face each other again. You do not predict 4 million for a mismatch. You do not predict 4 million for a fight where one man is clearly better. You predict 4 million when both men are elite, dangerous, and the outcome is genuinely uncertain. De La Hoya's 4 million prediction is not a Garcia endorsement. It is an acknowledgement that Davis is just as much of a draw and just as much of a threat as Garcia. But that's not even the most important part of this story. And this is where De La Hoya's admission, spread across 3 years of interviews, finally assembled in one place, lands with full force. After the first fight, De La Hoya was asked what conditions would need to change for the rematch to be different. His answer was not, "Ryan just needs to be more focused." It was not, "Without the bad weight terms, Ryan wins easily." It was specific, detailed, and revealing. "I would love to see it at 147, De La Hoya said. "It's too much for Tank, but it still would be an incredible competitive fight, because Tank has the dog in him. He won't go down easy. He turns it up. Oh man, it's beautiful." Break that down piece by piece. Too much for Tank. De La Hoya believes Davis at 147 is out of his natural range and gives Garcia a structural advantage. That is the weight argument. Tank has the dog in him. He is directly acknowledging Davis's heart and toughness. He is saying Davis will not be stopped by the weight disadvantage alone. Won't go down easy, meaning Garcia cannot expect a quick finish. Davis will fight back. Davis will be dangerous even at a weight he has never competed at. Oh man, it's beautiful. This is admiration, not for Garcia, for Davis, for the prospect of what Davis would bring to the fight, even under unfavorable conditions. And then, after Garcia won the WBC welterweight title from Mario Barrios in February 2026, De La Hoya's next move was to immediately push the Garcia-Haney rematch. "Do not take a tune-up," he told Garcia publicly. "Let's make this fight happen." He targeted July 2026. He said Haney deserves the rematch. What he did not say was, "Let's go get Davis next." A promoter who genuinely believed Garcia would beat Davis easily would not be steering him toward Haney first. A promoter who was fully confident in the outcome at 147 would be lining up the rematch immediately. Instead, De La Hoya put Haney in front of Garcia while Davis remained in legal limbo, clearing a path that kept Garcia busy and avoided the most dangerous fight on the board. That is not a
Here is the twist that reframes every De La Hoya quote, every pivot, every PPV prediction, every "do not take a tune-up" comment about Haney. De La Hoya respects Gervonta Davis, not as a rival, not as a punchline, genuinely respects him. After Davis's Jake Paul exhibition was canceled due to Davis's legal situation in late 2025, De La Hoya weighed in publicly. "Tank Davis has his whole career ahead of him," he said. "Outside the ring, he gets in trouble. I wish him the best. This is a tough sport. It gets into your psyche and kind of fucks with you. Tank has the dog in him. I don't know if he really wanted this fight. That is not how a promoter talks about the man his fighter needs to beat to prove himself. That is how you talk about someone you understand, someone you feel for, someone whose danger you take seriously enough to process it with some compassion rather than dismissing it. The full picture of De La Hoya's Davis-Garcia position assembled across 3 years. He said Garcia had no chance at 136 under those terms. He said the rematch could rival Mayweather-Pacquiao. He said Davis at 147 would still be incredibly competitive. He praised Davis's heart in the same breath as giving Garcia the weight advantage. He steered Garcia to Haney instead of Davis after the WBC title win. He wished Davis well after the legal headlines. He never in 3 years said flatly, Ryan beats Davis in the rematch. What De La Hoya finally admits, in the totality of everything he has said and done, is that Garcia versus Davis, on any terms, under any conditions, is not a foregone conclusion. It is the fight, the real fight, the one where the outcome is genuinely uncertain, and the one he has been managing carefully ever since the first bell rang in April 2023. That is what stunned the boxing world, not a single quote, the pattern behind all of them. Here's where we land. Oscar De La Hoya is Ryan Garcia's promoter. He is supposed to be the loudest voice in the room saying Garcia wins every fight, every time, without question. He has never said that about Gervonta Davis. Instead, across 3 years, he has called Garcia a dead man walking at 136, called Davis a beast, praised Davis's heart, predicted Mayweather-Pacquiao-level PPV numbers, demanded 147 as the only fair weight, and then spent 2026 actively steering Garcia to Haney instead of Davis. That is not a promoter hiding the truth. That is a promoter who respects the truth too much to completely bury it. Here is the question the boxing world cannot stop debating. Is Oscar De La Hoya's reluctance to confidently pick Garcia over Davis the most honest assessment a promoter has ever given about their own fighter's toughest matchup, or is he underestimating the new world champion version of Ryan Garcia, who just dominated a title fight on fair terms? Drop your take below. If you want the full story,